Perfect.
Welcome into Tips for Gamers, and in today's video we are going to be breaking down the top 5 best teams to rebuild with in Madden 22 franchise mode. We're going to be breaking down the top 5 teams to rebuild with in Madden 22 that will give you the best chance to succeed. These are teams that are not just the best teams in the league with the highest overall players. These are teams with several key indicators that we are looking for in order to truly give you the best chance of success. We've considered cap room, solid trade away value, good to decent contracts, and a profitable draft pick stock. You know, and if you guys want to help out, you want to help us out because you love the content that we do, just comment down below. If you don't know what to say milk money. Yeah, go with that. Just rolled off the tongue there. Also, make sure to like the video. You know, that does help as well. That'd be fantastic. You know, and maybe go buy a shirt or something like that. You know, visit the site. I don't know. Just some ideas. And at number 5, we have the Baltimore Ravens. And do not worry, the Baltimore Ravens are not just up here because they have a high overall team, and our list is not just comprised of high overall teams. That's not how we made our list. Our list is thought out and intricate. We wanted to hit several key indicators that I look for when determining what would be a good team to rebuild and how easy it would be. And some of these teams are extremely easy to rebuild with, and some teams that are high overall teams are just not that easy to rebuild with. And there's several reasons why. For example, let's just give you an example of a team that is a high overall but didn't make it onto this list, and that would be the Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City Chiefs have several issues, as we all can see. We did a YouTube video a long time ago talking about his contract, how his contract is not actually preferable. In fact, we actually ran a poll with you guys as well. If you guys were the GM of the Kansas City Chiefs, would you ask Pat Mahomes today, if he was coming up on a contract, to take less than $500 million because $500 million is not worth it? And it was almost 80% of you said yes, you don't believe that Pat Mahomes is worth $500 million. And you know, we agreed with you. And when we first came out with the video on that, people gave us a lot of heat saying, it's a good contract. It's not, because, well, look at the Kansas City Chiefs now. They're struggling to sign certain players. Their defense is atrocious. When you take that much money, there's a reason Tom Brady didn't take huge contracts like that. There's a reason Peyton Manning didn't take huge contracts like that. I'm not bashing Patrick Mahomes, but the same thing is in the pre-process now with the Ravens. They have Lamar Jackson. Now, Lamar Jackson might eventually take a record-setting deal. And if that does happen, well, you're going to see this Ravens team change drastically. That's just what's going to happen. This team, you're not going to be able to sign a lot of the guys that you think you're going to be able to sign, because right now you can surround Lamar Jackson around this high average overall talent. And that's something you do because you have the money, because he's set in a rookie contract. Well, once he gets this massive contract, well, things are going to change. And you're in the pre-process right now. That is why this team has a high average overall. That is why this team has a lot of money to play with, which we'll go over here in a second. And the other bonus too is not just that they have a high trade away value and a high overall average. They have most of their draft picks. They're missing their 6th and the 7th. They did have a 4th round pick added from Arizona and a 5th round pick added from the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, we're talking about the French fries and potatoes, the old hot salsa in your pocket. We're talking about $64.1 million in cap space to play with, and this is obviously pre-Lamar Jackson contract, but this is something that we love because this is not like real life. Madden is, no matter how much you want to make Madden realistic, good luck. You got a lot of bullet points you need to go over with EA before this game comes into a realistic standpoint. And the big thing that you see here is that you're probably going to sign him to, let's say, $230 million, right? That's the rough estimate, around $200 million, that you're not going to hit the $300 million unless you do an update, something like that. So with $64.1 million, this is something that intrigued me because of the fact that I'm seeing this. I know how much he's going to get signed for roughly, and I'm going, oh crap, you're still going to have $40-something million to play with. The other great thing about this, you got guys locked into rookie contracts like J.K. Dobbins here, went to Ohio State and is clearly the reason why he is just so damn talented, and why Ohio State keeps producing such legendary running backs. And, you know, J.K. Dobbins is probably going to be one of those guys, in Travion Henderson, who's on Ohio State, by the way, just rambling here, but he's probably going to be the best halfback in the history of mankind and the Solarverse. But that, you know, whatever, we'll go over that in another video. OH. But anyway, aside from that, Patrick Ricard, I do want to see this man step on a scale because, my God, man, if you are really 6'3", 300 pounds, the dude looks like a tank. And I'm not doubting that he weighs that. But, bro, you look like Jay Cutler, the pro bodybuilder out there, and you're absolutely nasty. And I'm curious, have you ever touched steroids at some time in your life? I mean, be honest. You know, just let the NFL players do steroids. That's all I'm saying. Make the game, whatever, do it. You get paid for how big you are anyways. Just juice these guys up. Juice them up. We are not ever condoning the use of illegal activities whatsoever on this channel. Never in the history of man, because that would be illegal. And it would go against our boy JC upstairs. However, we're just saying that NFL should maybe do it. You know, you turn a blind eye. I don't know. Whatever. Please do not demonetize us. Anyways, we got Humphrey here signed to a great deal. This is something that I love. You get really good guys. Elliott, you can sign Elliott. There's a lot of guys that you could pick up. There's a lot of guys that you could trade away. This is just something that we see on this team, something that we really like. Now, let's go into the recommendations of what we would recommend here. We recommend doubling their draft stock by trading out of their draft picks during the draft to hungry teams that want to move up. Look, the Ravens do not need a lot of weapons, so you can be more free with your draft stock and prepare for next year. And that's something that you should do. You will have the money in draft stock to eliminate key positions you need to cover and turn a negative into a positive. And what we mean by that is the Ravens will likely have bad draft picks. So to combat that, it is wise to have a lot of decent draft picks instead. Lamar can be signed. They would still have a good amount of money to play with, to spend on other elite players, especially with our contract method, like our Madden 22 contract glitch, our free agency contract method. You know, we have so many contract methods, guys. Most of you guys now could probably just spit them off the top of your head. And, you know, it is what it is. And at number 4, we have the Detroit Lions. Now, if you have not seen our Detroit Lions rebuild, you should check that out. It'll pop up in the top right corner of your screen. By the way, another contract method that I just thought of that I forgot is our reset method. Many of you guys will probably even say that in the comments to help other people out. Anyways, the Detroit Lions are in a great spot in multiple situations in order to be successful in a rebuild. They have $78 million in cap space to play with an already decent average overall player overall. They're in a position to swing their money around and bully other teams in the free agency signing period, and it's as simple as that with an already somewhat talented team. Now, they do not have a quarterback that is solidified. However, they only have 2 years left on Jared Goff's contract and only owe him $20 billion, which really is not that much, though. And I'm not serious about $20 billion. Anyways, this gives you the option to trade him away for great value or even snag another draft pick. You can wait until week 8, kind of boost him up, put him in your weekly training, and then, you know, trade him in week 8 for even more. Or you can wait till the free agency signing period. His contract is multiple years, so you don't have to worry about re-signing him. And then you'll pay off most of this penalty too. You'll, you know, have a little bit left. However, it's not going to be enough that's really going to change the deal for you when you have $7-8 million to spend in cap space. It's just not going to be the thing. So you can trade him away for more draft value. You can try to make him good. You can do all that. They have a very good running back. They have a solid tight end, which I really love to see. They have a significantly talented lineman. They got Taylor Decker of Ohio State on there. He could do a little bit better. Jackson's not typically going to be that good, and just because of the fact that his age and overall kind of combo there, you know, another Ohio State guy here, but he's going to take some time to grow, and because of his age and his overall, it's going to be a little bit harder for Jackson. They got Ragnow out of Arkansas, but he's injured. They're plagued with injuries right now. But the other thing is they got really good contracts here. They got Penei Sewell, who is going to 100% be amazing in Madden. In real life, you know, we'll see about that. However, he is going to be talented. Now, they have Ragnow set to a 6-year deal. You can't see it on your screen here, but I'm using my memory. So it is a 6-year deal, and it's like $70 million, something like that. In 2023, he's going to get paid $15 million. So just note that 2023, it's going to go up, and then it's going to go back down after that. So don't worry. It's really not going to be such a huge influx that it's going to harm you. Defensively, they have a young and terrible defense, but they have players that can play in multiple situations and multiple schemes. Okay, Akwara can play on the defensive line. You got guys that can play all over. Their linebacking crew is obviously an issue. Trey Flowers can also play on the defensive line. They have a young and talented cornerback crew, which Jeff Kuda, you can definitely work him up. He got injured this year. He's going to come back, another Ohio State guy. He's going to come back here. Safeties, they really just don't have a lot of good safeties here. Now let's move on to draft picks. They have 2 first-round draft picks, okay? And this is huge for them. And, you know, in this pick here, if you guys do terrible, this is obviously just going to increase. So, you know, trying to make them really good this year, you could do it. If you're user playing, you could definitely do that as well. But this team has, you know, a lot of good draft value here, draft stock here. Now, what we would recommend with the team, and this is something that we love doing. I love giving recommendations. We would recommend thinking in terms of a 3-year rebuild. Okay, trade away the Rams' first-round pick that you have unless you are sure you can nail a solid prospect. But we would not draft with both of these picks. One of these picks, we'd probably trade them away unless you are sure that you can solidify a really good player, such as a wide receiver, because they need wide receivers, a D lineman, cornerback that has potential to play a safety role, safety or a linebacker, or go with the best guy available, such as an early first-round projected QB that you can trade away for even more value. Think in trade terms, okay, in trade value. If you draft, let's say this pick is probably not going to be 13, okay, and if you draft a guy who you know is like a quarterback that, hey, I can trade him away for a lot of value, you know, that's something you need to think about. If you're drafting a halfback, well, halfbacks don't have the same trade away value as a quarterback. Something like that. That's how you need to think. And we'll probably even do a video on the best positions for trade away value, something like that. They run a 3-4 defensive scheme, so there's a lot of options available to you to improve players with players already in the league that are coming or are coming into the league. So it also gives you the ability to draft and sign DNs that can be moved to linebacker or linebackers to ends in the 3-4 scheme. Also, stay away from signing outside linebackers in the free agency because they will eat up a lot of your cap. Outside linebackers tend to ask for way too much money while in the free agency signing period. Try to draft these guys, try to trade for them when they're already in contracts, something like that. And also, like we mentioned before with Jared Goff, either wait until week 8, trade him away before the trade deadline, trade him in the offseason, but try and get a 1-year pro quarterback. That's why we also have how to trade for young superstars. If you haven't seen that video, it'll pop up in the top right. It'll show you how to, you know, replace him easily with a stud QB. And at number 3, we have the Tennessee Titans. Now, this may not shock you guys, but it is a team that we honestly didn't think would be on this list until we looked them over. The Titans are in a perfect spot to dominate and almost always make the playoffs. They're in a poor division thanks to Bill O'Brien, who made the Cardinals insane. The Colts are not rebounding off the loss of Andrew Luck, and the Jags are also better in Madden than they are in real life, but that won't they won't be a contender for you if you run the Titans properly. The Titans also have a lot of money to play with. They sit at $64.7 million in cap space, and they already have a high overall average when it comes to their players' overalls. They have most of their players signed to decent deals already. I mean, these guys are very, very talented in so many different ways. They have good wide receivers. They have a bad tight end, but tight ends are easy to trade for. And they have a decent offensive line to build off of. Yes, they're aging, but their offensive line, for the most part, is pretty easy to build off of. Like we mentioned with the tight ends, you can see here, just not good. It's just simply as that. But you can also trade for a wide receiver who's bigger, move him to tight end. Wide receivers are better at halfbacks and than tight ends. Then tight ends and halfbacks are at their own position. It's just the way wide receivers are set up. Their defense is young and talented, but they need a little TLC. And they have guys that are extremely fast. They got a very good linebacking crew. This linebacking crew is coming up on contracts, but it gives you good trade away value. Okay. And on top of it, too, you could always play some trickery, which we don't necessarily recommend, but you can move some of these guys to other outside, middle linebacker. You can move him out to outside linebacker, and he's going to jump up. This guy's out of Alabama, too, by the way. But anyways, pretty good guys. Also, they got a good young cornerback crew, which I do love. They have these two guys here, Fulton and Farley, who Farley just got injured. Bless his little heart. I do hope you come back, man. You come back strong. He got tagged by his own player, unfortunately, in that game against the Bills. Played a hard-fought game, and they ended up winning, which, by the way, I was the only guy out of the T4G squad that said that the Titans were going to win. Just going to bring that up. I did believe in them. And so anyways, they do have a huge contract here with Kevin Byard. Kevin Byard is signed to a massive deal here, and it's kind of unfortunate, but not too terrible because it is going to be until he's 32 years old. So you're going to hope for regression, not kicking the crap out of him too much. The thing about him is he is a superstar dev, so it's going to make regression a little bit less, and obviously you can upgrade your coach and do things of that nature there. Now, we did not go over the Tennessee Titans draft picks. However, they are only missing their 7th round pick, which is something I would not cry over. Be greedy with your draft picks and try to stay around 3 good players in the draft and trade away the rest to prepare for next year's draft. Draft a solid tight end, solid offensive lineman, D-end, D-tackle, or you can get lucky. If you can get lucky enough, draft a good QB. If you draft a D-end because there are not many good D-tackles left in the draft, then just move Jeffrey Simmons. This guy can play, where is he? He's on the right end here. This guy's a monster. He's the guy who actually helped the Bills win and stop them. But you can put him anywhere on the defensive line, and he is going to do just fine. So utilize this, okay? There's another thing that you can do as well, is because you have Jeffrey Simmons, who is just a monster, and you can put him anywhere on the D line. Think about this. They're also running a 3-4 style scheme here, which means that you can put Bud Dupree at the end position. You can put other guys. I wouldn't put Harold Landry there, but you could put Bud Dupree, draft a good D end, and put Bud Dupree there. You have a decent end in Autry, but honestly, D ends aren't that hard to trade for anyways. And then you could put Simmons at D tackle is something that you can do. Now moving on to Tannehill here. Tannehill will hit a regression next year, so look to trade him away for as much as you get during the offseason free agency signing period, and either draft or trade for a 1-year pro by using our How to Trade for Superstars. Tannehill is not owed very much money, so do not worry about not having the money to make this decision to trade him away. Okay, his penalty is $29 million, but you're going to be fine. Also, use this money of $64.7 million to bully teams in the free agency for solid defensive players to patch up the aging offensive line. And if you could do both, we would recommend doing both. The Titans have speed on defense, so do not be afraid to change up their scheme or to have a heavy blitz package. We would also recommend, if you are in a simulation format, to use Cleveland's offensive playbook, or even the Buccaneers. You could use the Kansas City Chiefs, however, with the running back in King Henry, the Bucs or Cleveland's playbook is going to do you wonders. More than likely Cleveland's, but anyways, you pick. And number 2 on our list is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and this is just such a hard team to not make it onto the list. Just with the overall talent that this team has, it's honestly insane. Tom Brady has taken such a pay cut to be on this team. It's phenomenal. What he's decided. He's getting paid. The GOAT is getting paid $16.9 million in 2022. This guy gave back so much money to this team to win a Super Bowl, and it paid off, obviously. And this is another reason why he is the GOAT. A lot of people hate him, but you shouldn't. There's just no reason for it. So this may sound obvious, but the Bucs are in such a great spot as a franchise. It's just it's obvious. No huge unworthy QB contract, like we already mentioned, and great trade away value. Sorry, I'm stuttering here. Most of their players are already signed to good deals here, as you can see. They have a little bit of an aging offensive line, but you're talking trade away value to the nth degree. You could trade Gronkowski. You could trade Antonio Brown. There's just so much that you can do, and there's just so much value on this team that it is absolutely insane. Also, having $40 million to spend in cap space here with this already impressive team is insane. There's so much that you can do with this team. We really don't even have to go too much into this. So let's jump into what we would recommend here, because also they really don't have a lot of draft picks that they have given up. The Bucks are sitting in a great spot in the draft stock, I should say. Dear Lord, struggling here. But what we'd recommend is trading for Jonathan Taylor on the Colts. He's easy to trade for and not cost too much when his contract comes up. If that is not an option for you, look to add another halfback that is more talented than the ones you currently have in Fournette and Ronald Jones II. Also, when it comes to the other talented guys that are aging, coming up on a contract, such as Rob Gronkowski and Antonio Brown, wait until week 8 to see what kind of contract these guys are wanting. If they want a 1-year deal, then sign it and trade them away in the offseason. If they do not want a 1-year deal and they want too much money, what we'd recommend is waiting till week 8, okay? Don't trade these guys away until week 8 because you want to keep getting dubs. You want to win as much as possible, but then trade these guys away. You know, you're getting a penalty of $1.25 million. You know, really not that crazy. 2.8 million, 2.08 million. Come on. It's just not very much money. So you could trade these guys away. You could get a lot of value for these guys. You could trade for younger guys as well, 1-year pros, and, you know, really just double this value as much as possible. Get these guys a little bit more XP to inflate their overall and make them even more valuable. So even the other thing too is, you know, even if these guys do want somewhat of a decent contract when it comes to a 1-year deal, I would still sign it and then trade them in the offseason for a draft pick, something like that, if they want a 1-year deal. If they don't, you guys already know what we recommend. And our number 1 team. I don't know if you guys would have guessed this team, but this team is the best team to rebuild with in Madden 22, and they're ranked number 1 for several reasons. Let's go over the first reason. Is they have 3 first-round picks that tend to be amazing in Madden and likely in real life as it sits currently. They have the Colts' first-round pick, they have Miami's first-round pick, and they have their first-round pick. I mean, they are just loaded in draft stock value. I mean, it is absolutely insane what they have, and they just walked away with a big one here. I don't think Miami was completely anticipating what was happening to them, and it just is not a smart thing. They have a high overall average player overall, and their team is sitting in a great spot. They have a lot of trade away value. Yes, their team is older. They have guys sitting in contracts that are a little bit bigger than what's comfortable, but it's not all bad news when it comes to those contracts. Now, with the high overall average that they have with their players' overalls, that's kind of confusing. They have $66.9 million to play with, which is absolutely insane. You know, they really have a lot of money. Now, some of these contracts are absolutely huge when it comes to their offensive line, but this is huge for you because this gives you plenty of room to trade some of these guys away, you know, in the offseason, okay, and to, you know, get these guys. I mean, Lane Johnson, you owe him $37 million. Yeah, that's pretty tough. But the thing is, with the draft stock value that you have, these guys that you could trade away, the money that you have, $66.9 million, these penalties are going to decrease, and these players aren't going to get absolutely obliterated, because a lot of these guys too are, you know, defensive or it's offensive linemen that you're seeing here. Where's the other guy? They have Lane Johnson, whose contract's pretty big, and they have Brandon Brooks. Kelsey will probably want a 1-year deal. Now, with Kelsey, I would probably wait until the offseason to sign him. However, we'll go into our recommendations in just a moment here. However, $66.9 million to play with. The draft value that they have, the trade away value they have in these players. This is why this team made it onto our list. This team is very good, and they only have, you know, a slight few variations of issues that need to be addressed, which is quarterback here, Jalen Hurts. A lot of people want, you know, to ride him and say, hey, he is going to be the next guy. I personally don't believe that. However, you know, maybe he is. In Madden terms, it's not even a shot in hell. So if you think he is in real life, that's fine. But in Madden, don't get confused and don't get hazy eyes when it comes to this, because he is not going to end up being the guy that you want him to be unless you are a very talented user. That's just not going to be the case. So let's go into our recommendations of what we would do with the Philadelphia Eagles. We would recommend replacing Jalen Hurts either through trading or drafting. He lacks in many issues that make it unnecessary to try and deal with when this team is as loaded as it is. Draft with only one first-round pick and trade the other 2 first-round picks away for more picks of next year. Keep those picks making more picks for you each year while you snipe in the draft where you see fit. Replace your linemen as they start to regress by trading them for young, talented players that were already drafted by other teams. This will eliminate the guessing game of the draft and solidify your offensive line for years to come. Use your draft value to replace aging defenders and add 2 more weapons on the offense. Okay, this team is in a great spot to rebuild them and make them extremely talented. There are, positions here on the defense that need to be replaced, but for the most part, this team is in a prime spot in draft value, in overall, and so many different ways that you should be able to rebuild this team to its former glory and to continue that tradition to make them a true dynasty.
Perfect.